Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and welcome back to the Labyrinth. So, it's been a little while. It's been a few weeks. I took a couple off weeks, but we are back, and we are going to be back in full effect. And I'm letting you guys know right now, obviously this is episode 119, is going to be business as usual, but episode 120, I'm definitely excited for next week, and I'm excited for what we're going to be doing after episode 120. But that will be announced next week with episode 120, of course. So, but like I said, it is business as usual. It is we have some poems, we have some poetry, not just from myself, but from other poets. We're going to read, analyze, and of course, if this is your first episode of Nigel Dixie's Tales from the Labyrinth, welcome. If not, welcome back. But if you are indeed new here, what we do is we read poetry. We read a variety of poetry. We analyze said poetry and try to find the meanings, if perhaps any, when it comes to certain poems and certain poetry. So, of course, if that does sound like your kind of thing, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And it's free, but, of course, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, this first one's called Radio Stations. I'm cruising down this road. I'll be here for a while. Let's see what's on the radio. Love songs? Nah, I'm not in a romantic mood. Rock music? No, I don't want to speed. Oldies? I'm not feeling nostalgic. Jazz? I don't want to fall asleep at the wheel. Doo-wop? Nah, it reminds me of grandma too much. Pop? No, I don't recognize any of these singers. So, this can be interpreted in a couple different ways. You can interpret this as literally he changing the radio while you're driving down the road. Sometimes how it is when you're driving and you're trying to find something to listen to on the radio. At least that's kind of how it was back then. Nowadays, most and all people have like Apple Music or Spotify or something like that. So listen to that. Some people even listen to videos like audio, such as podcasts or something like that in audio form, which admittedly, I have considered doing. And I haven't gotten around to it, but I have considered doing it at some point or another. And I might put System Shock Radio and Tales from Labyrinth and anything else that you guys want me to on Spotify. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that, though. But yeah, so sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes you're changing the station, but perhaps there's a different meaning. Perhaps this could mean that a lot of different things are going on inside your head, because I don't know about you, but a million thoughts go through my mind on a daily basis, and it comes and goes almost rapidly. So, perhaps the changing of stations could be the changing of things inside the mind, and wanting to fixate on one thing or another, what is the exact meaning of it? And I should probably know because I wrote it. I kind of feel like it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both camps. It could be literal changing the stations. It could be mental, emotional changing of the stations, and especially when you change the station and change music while you're going through certain emotions. Like, when you're fresh off a breakup, the first thing you probably don't want to hear is the love songs about like heartbreak and breaking up and stuff like that. But that's kind of how it is sometimes. But this next one's called Card Shark. What's going on in this game? What will I get? Queens, kings, aces and eights, dead man's hand, poker, joker, blackjack, diamonds, clubs, hearts, ace of spades. I have an ace in the hole. I wish I got a better hand, but you gotta play the cards you're dealt. Well, so again, a poem that has kind of a metaphorical, perhaps emotional meaning, as well as a literal meaning. I hope you're starting to pick up on a pattern here. But they say in life you gotta deal you gotta play with the hand you're dealt. In cards, you gotta play with the hand you're dealt. So hoping for something good, and I try to put in as many card references as I can, and of course, because cards can often be unpredictable. That's why a lot of people find it so fun. Me personally, never really been big into cards, except for Uno. Like Uno, I will definitely play, and I will definitely win. But otherwise, not really big into cards. But like I said, cards can be very, very unpredictable. Life can be very unpredictable. I think card games are compared to life because life can be unpredictable, just like cards. But this next one is called Void. I feel this void in my heart. It's too big, and every time I try to fill the void, it only gets bigger, consuming everyone and everything. How do I get rid of this void before it consumes me too? This is something I'm sure a lot of you have experienced in life, where you have kind of this hole, this emptiness within yourself, and you're trying your best to fill that emptiness within your heart, or however you can, whether it be with material things, with a person, which I definitely don't recommend, and not necessarily out of experience. I don't think I've quite ever done that. And I've come close to. I've definitely come close to, and the itch has been there, but definitely don't recommend that. But yeah. So, how do we go about filling these voids? Because when you have a void, think of like a void or like a black hole, just sucking everything in, and it's gonna suck everything in. It's gonna essentially destroy everything. So how do you go about filling that void before that void consumes you? And when a void consumes you, it can be rough. Shout out to my people who have gone through some voids in their life or are currently going through them. I know you definitely know the struggle, and definitely wishing you all the best. So you may be asking, Nigel, what's the best way to get rid of that void? I would say, at least in kind of my experience, get to the bottom of why you feel that void is there in the first place, and really try to analyze it and ask questions, and to really be honest with yourself. That's the first step. Now, filling a void, getting rid of that void is definitely not easy. It's a tough task, but you can do it. I believe in you. But this next one is called Our Heron, and this is by William Olson. Observation isn't serious play. It is living serious. Same heron. It's used to us. We are as twilight. When we walk down shore, hand me the binoculars. I'll hand them back. No, I can see it with my naked eye. Cup your ear. Drink what I say. Because what was that last squabble about? If we draw too near, the heron it will go, meaning that for it he will have gone. I can't see it every day, all day. Sunlight has nothing to do with our sharing the sight of it. I want twilight. A heron is a how-to book on twilight. Open anywhere. How-to is a lonely phrase. Lonely is a start. Try saying so. Try making up, and try in conclusion. Try twilight. Then try reading a book so good that every page is dog-eared, and you know how safe the heron out there in the reeds feels just about now. Each twilight try the same heron in the shade of twilight. Twilight hushes to such tones you have to look so carefully at what you see, you become hushed yourself. Then a heron, pulled forward by fish, the baiting saints of the shallows. Its elongated neck tapers to the beak that always precedes head and eye and ears, the beak being both an emissary for and a tender of the senses. Sometimes behind slender reed it would vanish to sight. We couldn't make it out, and trying to was like trying to interpret a flyleaf. For 20-odd minutes, we'd watch for the heron while we brushed mosquitoes from one another's faces. The mosquitoes would have drowned in our hearts if they could have. Alright, so we will analyze that in just a moment. Alright, so now to analyze what exactly does the heron mean? Why is the heron being referred to? within the confines of this poem. So, what I'm getting out of this is that the heron is supposed to. I feel that it's supposed to be not quite a juxtaposition, but it's supposed to represent and not only William here, or more specifically the narrator, but that's all. But it's supposed to compare and contrast, as in a way. Hey, and the reason I say that is because as when you see stuff like this, it's used to us, whereas Twilight, so the heron is familiar with them. This must be a heron that they see a lot. Although I guess this is more a question for the experienced bird watchers, which I am not. But how can they tell when it's the same exact bird, like that same exact like bird, not like the same bird species, but like that same exact bird. There's got to be a way to tell. But I feel that the heron is supposed to, who essentially he represent them in a way, and is supposed to connect the narrator and everything with the heron, and I do like how it goes back and forth between the narrator themselves and the heron, and it kind of explaining a little bit the significance of the heron in the context of this poem, saying a heron is a how-to book on Twilight, and trying to describe Twilight as well. Not like the movie with the vampires and the werewolves and stuff like that, but exploring what that Twilight means. Each Twilight try the same hair in the shade of Twilight. Twilight hushes to such tones you have to look so carefully what you see, you become hushed yourself. So really, that not only that immersion, but really tying everything together. Or so, and of course, sometimes behind slender reed it would vanish to sight. We couldn't make it out, and trying to was like trying to interpret a flyleaf. So even, and it almost seems like even the narrator / the author. And the reason I say the narrator versus the author is because as we've seen oftentimes in poetry, the narrator isn't always the author. Most of the time it is, and most of the time it can be inferred that the person who wrote the poem is the same person that's the main character of said poem, but that's not always the case. So I kind of try to, in a way, I cannot think of the word. I kind of try to make that distinction, and just in case, of course. But even the narrator trying to figure out exactly what was the heron mean before coming to their own conclusion, and this last part here, for 20 odd minutes we'd watch for the heron while we brushed mosquitoes from one another's faces. The mosquitoes would have drowned in our hearts if they could have. So, now the mosquitoes are connected as well, and of course the mosquitoes suck on blood and everything and leave very, very itchy bumps. I'm thinking, like, that's the one good thing about fall, is mosquitoes aren't as much of a problem anymore. But this interconnectivity, everything is one, everything's together. We're tied to the heron, we're tied to the mosquitoes. So tying everything together, I think, is the main conclusion, and that we're supposed to come to, or perhaps implied within this poem. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But this last one is called Black Cherries, and this is by W.S. Merwin. Late in May, as the light lengthens towards summer, the young goldfinches flutter down through the day for the first time, to find themselves among fallen petals, cradling their day's colors in the day's shadows. Of the garden beside the old house, after a cold spring with no rain, not a sound comes from the empty village, as I stand eating the black cherries from the loaded branches above me, saying to myself, remember this. So, this one is kind of similar to the previous one, and both kind of bring up birds. But this one, the goldfinches is this part. The young goldfinches flutter down through the day for the first time to find themselves among fallen petals, cradling their day's colors in the day's shadows. I think that's supposed to symbolize loss. How they've lost the petals. The petals falling off the flowers. They're dying, essentially. So the the gold, I almost said goldfishes, is they are not the snack that smells back, but instead they are the birds mourning their fallen petals, and the petals falling off, essentially he dying. It happens around springtime. But then, of course, the last part, as I stand eating the black cherries from the loaded branches above me, saying to myself, remember this. For the record, I hate cherries, but within the confines of this poem, the narrator here, her stands there watching the whole thing, but also relating it to himself, because as much like the birds, we as humans oftentimes experience loss, whether it be the loss of a loved one or just things maybe not going our way in life. Loss haunts us all, and it hurts. Hurts to see. Showing a different kind of plant in the black cherry. So plants, birds, that nature connecting to humans, and that was something that W.S. Merwin liked. He liked nature and everything, and which I do for the most part as well. But that connectivity, he's saying we're essentially like the birds, because we also lose and we also mourn our losses. So tying us together with those birds, the goldfinches, that being. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications. Every time I upload a video, so you can see who drops. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on any of the poems I've read here. Did you dislike these poems? Did you like my analysis of these poems? And what is your analysis of these poems? Let me know in the comments. But thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.